And in today's Factory of the Future, we are interviewing Renan Devillieres, who began as a graduate from the École Normale Supérieure and the École Polytechnique Fédérale de l'Enseignement. And for my listeners in the U.S., these schools are the equivalent of your Ivy League, your Oxfords, or your MITs. Following that, he also was a plant director for a watchmaking company. Very interesting, especially he goes into a little bit on the making of the watch. And also as a consultant at McKinsey. Then as an economist at the OECD, which is the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development. Now, this organization is about developing policies, best practices, and finding solutions for economic and social challenges. And finally, he was a strategic project manager for the Richemont Group. He is also the co-founder, or he began a co-founder up in Brazil and made his exit in 2018. Now, he's attracted by tech and industry. Renan co-founded the OSS Ventures, which I think stands for Open Source Software, but I apologize if I didn't get that because I failed to ask Renan after our interview. But he founded this company in 2019 with the mission to support the French industry in the technological, environmental, and societal transition from the industry. It's a wide-ranging interview, and Alexandria and I, we kind of open the book on what Renan has to offer, both in an entrepreneurship, as a CEO, and the technology that goes into today with the maturity levels of manufacturing. So I hope you enjoy this episode.
Welcome to Factory of the Future, People-Powered Health, a podcast focused on trends shaping the future of manufacturing. I'm Alexandria Burek, your host, here with A.W. Schultz, two thought leaders with a passion for people and manufacturing. Today and every episode, we are diving deep into the advancements, sustainable practices, and dynamic changes transforming how we produce everything.
And now welcome Alexandria Burek and A.W. Schultz.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Factory of the Future. I'm Alexandria Burek. I'm here with A.W. Schultz as usual. And today we have a very special guest, Renan Devillieres. He is a founder and passionate about all things tech and manufacturing. He also has got some really exciting insights about universal basic income, given his background in economics. So, Renan, welcome to the show. Thank you. And if you'd like to just give the audience a brief high-level overview of your career and some of the things you're currently passionate about, we'd love to start the conversation that way.
Yes, sure. Thank you for having me. It's a blast being there. So I'm Renan. I'm 38 and a father of a little daughter. She's 4. And I basically did two things before OSS. I worked in factories for 10 years. I was a factory director, quality director, whatever, especially in luxury, because in Europe, there is a lot of luxury going on. And then I was a tech founder, created a tech company in San Francisco, started it, scaled it, sold my shares, and then I created OSS Ventures. And so OSS Ventures, we build and invest in software companies, but only software companies that are operating for factories. That's the only thing that we do. We are 5 years old. We are live in 3,000 factories all over the world. We have 400K users, and we are supposed to double this year. So it's going to be a hell of a ride.
That's exciting.
Renan, when you were the factory director, what was the end product that you were producing?
I was doing luxury watches.
Okay.
So 900 components, a headache to produce, and very expensive.
You get to take product home with you at all?
I actually have one signed by the CEO of the company to thank me because that was a lot of sleepless nights trying to not to hit my production ratios.
Okay.
Nice.
And you didn't bring this up, but you started your career at McKinsey.
Yep.
What kind of role were you doing with them? Is it consulting?
Yeah, it's actually a funny story. I started as a junior consultant and then made my way up. I joined as an engineer and a math nerd. And my first mission was supply chain for like whatever reason. And so I became the manufacturing guy, the supply chain guy. And that's how I ended up in manufacturing, actually. So it was pure luck. It was basically, oh, I need to do a supply chain project. Oh, who knows math? Oh, that guy knows math. Come on, we'll do supply chain. I was like,
It's kind of different than when I think Alexander and I mean, I was sweeping floors in a factory. That's kind of got me into the industry. But talking about your business, OSS Ventures, why start that? Did you see an opportunity that wasn't happening in this other when you were working in the manufacturing, or was there just a need, an entrepreneurship itch that you wanted to fulfill?
I had a big aha moment. I was in San Francisco and I had basically nothing to do because I had some money and too much time on my hands. And so I visited Tesla Fremont in like 2018, I think. That was the period where they had literally little tents on the parking lot and they were producing cars in tents. And I was like, what the hell? And so I visited. I think at this point I had visited maybe 400, 500 factories in my life. And it was so different. Like it was not the same type of organization. Like there were like people with sneakers running around, people coding the machines with their laptops. The laptops were MacBook, by the way. I have never seen a MacBook in a factory before that. And I was like, okay, I'm literally seeing, like I'm in the position of the first guy who went to Japan and discovered that lean is a thing. And you know that in the next 30 years, every single factory is going to be lean. And so I had that big aha moment of, in the next 30 years, every single factory is going to be a tech company. And so I said, I need to start a company and accelerate that movement. That was the big moment. That was the why.
Okay.
That's incredible. Can I ask you a question too? So I would assume that in your luxury watch manufacturing director position, did you take the factory from kind of a analog model to automated? Is that also what you did there? And how did that translate into your current company?
There was a lot of new machines and fancy hardware automations and zero non-physical automation. Like in the luxury sector, still today, sometimes you have like two people who are not working on the shop floor for one guy working on the shop floor. So it's literally like one guy working and two guys just running around with Excel files. And in my luxury days, I did a ton of physical automation and zero non-physical automation. So that was a big moment also of the Tesla.
Yeah, that's interesting.
It is. Yeah, I've watched some videos on watchmaking, and it's, from what I see, it's very meticulous. And it's very manual, which I found very interesting. I've never been in a watch manufacturer. Let me ask you about in Factory of the Future. We often circle around the people aspect of it, and one of the things I'm big on and I talk about is Industrial 4.0, but also what leads into 5.0. Which is, and one thing's around that human-centric part about it. So, in your company, where do you see your, I guess, introduction into driving the people side in the manufacturing sector? And how do you see yourself? How do you do it? I'll let you explain.
So, to the question, how do you do it? The honest answer is with great difficulty. but we usually succeed. So here is what's happening. You go from 50 people running around with an Excel file trying to do supply chain planning.
Yeah.
And you go to 5 people managing AI agents, doing what was previously done by humans, managing the AI agents. The one thing that nobody talks about, yes, it's hard to go from 50 to 5. Yes, it's hard. But the real hard thing is that the 5 guys or girls, they have a new job, which is managing agents. And so it's almost like data science, quality control, understanding systems and everything. My mental model for that new role is that when we automated the factories, we put machines. But there are people in charge of programming the machines, doing quality check, reprogramming the machines, doing problem solving when things go wrong. And so you cannot have 0 people managing the agents. You need to have people managing the agents, but it's a different work. And counterintuitively, our consistent learning is that the hardest part is actually training those 5 people.
What are the challenges you're coming up against? Because I just recently, for the first time ever, started coding using AI and building these models to kind of solve these complex problems I'm dealing with in my day job. And I had this kind of aha moment, so it's really serendipitous that we're talking about managing AI agents, because I've got a bunch of different projects going on with AI that I'm trying to solve these issues that would otherwise be me running around with a bunch of Excel spreadsheets trying to answer these questions, right? So what is your advice? Because I always like to also think about this from the factory floor worker or the middle manager who's trying to make sense of this new world. So what is your recommendation for me, but also for people who are like me trying to manage these projects?
Our learnings are, it is iterative. It won't work first shot. It usually takes a few tries. So be okay with failing the first few times. It's also not a one and done project. It's ongoing. And so you automate 60% of the thing, and then you find another thing to automate 20% more of the thing, and then you find something new, and then there is a new agent, and blah, blah, blah. And so it's an ongoing project. The way I talk, the way I speak with the manufacturers is, hey, when you put the machines in the shop floor, you didn't put the machine, and then there's nobody on the shop floor, and then nobody is caring about the machines, and every time you have an issue, you call the machine maker. No, you learned how to operate the thing. And so it's the same thing that's happening. It's just happening in 3 years, where machines took 15 years. But it's exactly the same thing. And so it's a constant learning mindset. It's also a humility mindset. It's a trial and error mindset. And it's acknowledging that it's a new type of job, that nobody's good at it for now, and that we're all learning, but the results are already there.
Oh, awesome.
I just had a meeting this week with a potential client, and we were putting together a workshop, and because a lot of my background is in the maintenance side of manufacturing, but over the last year, and we know AI just engulfed us, but I've seen a lot of I'm going to call it resistance, and it's not that they're, and I want to say maybe they're afraid of it, but what have you seen out there? Because you probably had that discussion even more than what I've been part of.
Welcome to my life. The first thing that we have seen is about 15% of all the manufacturing companies have the culture, organizational agility, the courage to actually drive that transformation. And so we actively seek to work only with the 15% who are going to make it, because we are software people, we cannot, we're not consultants, we don't invoice fees on a thing that doesn't work to just feed on the complexity. And so the first learning is we work with the 15% who are already good at organizational change. The second thing that we are seeing is,
wait, how do you know they're good at organizational change? I'm sorry.
Sorry?
How do you know they're good at organizational change?
Usually because they did it before. So
They're already doing it. Yeah.
they tend to be better at lean. They tend to be better performing. They tend to have a muscle of like buying companies and integrating them. So they are already good at organization change because they are doing it in other subjects, but the muscle can be used for AI. If you don't have the muscle of change, like you can put AI on a lack of muscle, you'll achieve nothing basically.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, please.
No, I was going to say that that's a great point that you brought forward is, and for me, I've kind of, you come into a factory and you try to read the organization real quick. And that's one thing. When you start seeing that they're actually doing projects versus having a task list on the board, or there's not even a board, it's an Excel sheet. And they're incorporating the people into the meetings and some of the decision makings. To me, that's a maturity level that they're ready for some of the AI on it. And that's just one point I think that is important to bring forward.
100%. And I really think that AI is accelerating the divide between the can and the can't do type of factories. And so that's hard, because if you're already lagging, you will be even more lagging. And if you're ahead, you can catch the wave and become even more ahead. And so that's like the speed gap is accelerating. That's what we are seeing.
I feel like that's also true for workers. Like I see that in some of my colleagues, the people who are embracing technology and embracing AI versus those who don't even think to use it or don't use it at all. The gap, like you said, is just continually widening farther and farther.
Yeah, I have a stat for you. In the beginning of the 20th century, when mechanization started, like programmable machines, 60% of all manufacturing companies disappeared in 10 years because they were undercapitalized, they were too small, they couldn't afford to buy the machines, but also there was active resistance. And at the time, there was that, like in England, there was that gang called the Luddits. And at night, they would break the machines in the factories because they didn't want the change to happen. And so in my mind, I say that AI is kind of like the Luddits, and probably there's going to be an extension event of a lot of companies. Like not everybody is going to make it.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so that kind of leads into, so you have an economics background, you're at the forefront of working with these mid-sized manufacturing companies, you're seeing the people, we're talking about the gap between workers and factories separating and getting even wider faster. So how do you see, or what are your thoughts about this universal basic income concept or universal high income concept? Everybody end of January who's running an AI company has been kind of dropping that and coming boldly out and saying it. So I'm interested to hear what your thoughts are.
So if you look at history, the brutality of the change when mechanization happened is that in like 20 to 30 years, you went from a society where 60% of all working people were in a factory or doing agricultural work to less than 15. So that was absolutely brutal, mass unemployment, mass reskilling needed. And so it literally changed society because we invented things such as like unemployment benefits, healthcare, and everything. Mm-hmm. I think the level of what will happen is comparable to that. The base case of the World Economic Forum is 5% of all hours being replaced by AI by 2030. I think it will be more. And so we are facing the same thing. And so if you take that lesson from history, very probably, I think we need to be mindful and we need to say, okay, for the next 10 years, we need to put some money in the hands of people who need to be retrained, they need to be reskilled. We need the companies to actually do it because you don't want to fall behind, but you want to be human enough for those people not to starve and not to have like societal unrest, while preserving the incentives to actually do something. So not have like lazy people just saying, hey, I'm on universal basic income and for the next 30 years, I'm doing nothing. And so that's a tough thing to navigate, but I think we'll have to do it as a society in the next 5 years max.
Yeah, I would have to agree with that. And kind of going back to the conversation of who's using, like workers and manufacturing facilities, I feel really kind of shocked about some of the people who are in these roles who aren't even thinking about it, talking about it. To me, that's alarming. I feel like as an individual, you should be looking to better yourself or at least protect your current state of living or, whatever I'm trying to say there. But it seems to me that there's a lot of people who aren't even considering how this is going to affect them. And they're kind of like, but I feel like those are the people that are going to require the most resources because they're so unprepared.
That's for sure. And I think the 15% rule also applies to people. Like it's a Gaussian, wherever you look, the mathematical distribution is the same. And so it's okay. Like not everybody needs to be absolutely forward looking and like on top of everything. It's okay. We need to take care of them as a society. And we need to be aware that it will happen. One thing that is, I think, maybe counterintuitive is that factories have been so good at managing that because of the machines, factories all have a muscle of knowing that you had this amount of people and you now need to be working with this amount of people. They are uniquely good at managing that while preserving the culture, preserving the empathy, preserving worker engagement. They are uniquely good at those kind of things. And so counterintuitively, I think this is one of the places where the AI thing that is coming for all the people who are not direct labor, I think factories are going to fare better than the rest of the economy because they have that muscle.
That's interesting and optimistic take.
I'm going to test your mathematics and probably what you're always thinking. Have you seen OSS Ventures? Can you say that when you come in, what kind of change or improvements do you is there a percentage that you can say that AI is supporting?
Yeah, sure. Let me give you two examples. For one of our partners based in Boston, they had 30-ish planners for 14 factories.
Material
in 1 year.
2 to 1.
Supply chain planning.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Okay. They will be operating that by the end of the year with 5 people only at the headquarters, and they are doing 3 times the amount of planning tasks. So the planning is also better. As it is an incredibly human company, it's a family-owned, 100-year-old company, they manage that with incredible skill because they chose to not replace some people going into retirement and massively reskill other type of people. And so they are managing that like stellar. In one of the companies that we're working with in Turkey, so it's a socks factory, they have a research and development center of like 50 people. It's probably going to be between 10 and 15. And also when they were doing new socks design, there used to be roughly 9 months and 8 iterations of creating a sock, sending the sock to the potential client, the client saying, I want this different, this different, this different. All of that has been replaced by AI, and the AI automatically generates the programming for the machines and everything. And so basically, you are looking at a 75% productivity uplift. And also for the client is now directly creating the design of the sock and just clicking OK, and the socks get designed. And so those are the type of thing that we are actually putting into production in factories right now. Our constant learning is that it's harder than it looks. It's more expertise than it looks. For example, the socks design, we are talking about a little over 1,000 different rules, because those people who are doing R&D, they were doing a lot of things in their head. They had like those complex rules and that complex know-how that has been now implemented in the AI, but it took us like 3 months of engineers constantly understanding what was going on and everything to fit the AI. So it's not just you plug your thing on an AI LLM and it works. No, it's way more work than that. But when it works, and when it works, the gains are massive. And so the world is headed that way, that's for sure.
Okay, so let me ask, you're the perfect person to ask, because Alexandria, we've talked about this before, is we go back and forth, is AI replacing jobs? And the answer is yes, but well, in your example, they didn't lose their jobs. They just had to repurpose.
Yes.
What is your thoughts on? I want to ask it in the right way because I don't want. How should I ask this, Alexandria? Like,
I was kind of getting around the same idea as well. Like you're kind. I think you're getting at like, what are the new jobs then? Like we were talking, Renan, and for the audience, we were talking about this new model of management and what management looks like now. So maybe that's what you were getting at. Is that what you were getting at, AW?
Yeah, I think so. Because I think he's going to say, no, it's not replacing jobs. But I'm just like, well, what are they doing?
So here is what I think. The number of hours go down dramatically. So there is less hours for human work. But the nature of the hours that are left is totally different. If I'm trying to be like as non-technical as possible, the job shifts from executing the systems with the rules that you have in your head to managing the system and looking at the results of the rules that have been put in the AI. So basically, you shift the hours from executing to managing. And so, once again, that's just what happened when you put machines in the shop floor. Before you were executing because you were doing physical work, and now you're managing because you're creating the program, you're doing creative work, you're blah, blah, blah. And so the two things that we are consistently seeing on the shop floor are, one, total number of hours go down. Two, the nature of the hours that are left shifts from executing a system to managing a system.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it does.
I'm excited about that.
Yeah, it's a whole new world.
I'm really excited because I hate doing some of the work. Like I would rather spend all day coding something to just make it do it versus doing it repetitively. It's more exciting.
Yeah, and also like, I don't know if we are at war with the opposite side of the ocean, like the China and everything, but we are not friends. Let's put it that way. We need to be able to pay factory people like tech people because they are managing systems. And when you are managing systems that have scale, you can pay people with a good salary because their decisions have a lot of impact. And so you can pay people good wages. And we won't compete with low wage systems. We need to build high leverage AI systems to be able to have good paying, interesting jobs in factories.
I think that's great.
Yeah, it's there's a stat out there, like in the U.S., 3.8 million manufacturing jobs are going to be available. And Alexandria, we just did an episode on dark factories in China.
Yep.
And how they're having to change their way of working because they no longer can have the low-paying jobs out there, but they're choosing automation in one of the biggest manufacturing economies in the world. Renan, any other messages you want to bring forward that that's you think our guests might or our listeners might benefit from?
Well, shameless promotion. We have a bureau in Boston, and we are always looking to work with incredible factory directors who want to change their operations thanks to AI. So if you want to call us and get a bunch of geeks running around your factory and saying, hey, we think we can build AI here, and here's the impact, and it's free until it works, then give us a call. That would be the thing.
Your point about when do you know somebody needs it, and you talked about maturity. And Alexandria, we've gone back and forth on this maturity levels on when coming in, and you answered it perfectly. That when is somebody ready for AI? And I like your response is when the maturity level is with the people, and that's kind of what your message is about that too. And it's you can have technology, but people play a very important part into it, and the culture.
I'm a software builder, so I should not say that, but tech is hard, but that's not the hardest part. Like, people is the hardest part.
That is true. That's what keeps us employed, right, Alexandria?
Exactly.
That is indeed. Are we clocking out?
We are clocking out like finished goods.
Yeah.
All right.
Thanks.
Thank you.
This is Factory of the Future, and we are out of here like finished goods. Stay tuned for our next episode of Factory of the Future, where we're exploring groundbreaking techniques and behaviors that are reshaping industrial landscapes. Don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review and help others discover the cutting-edge insights transforming manufacturing as we know it.